Okay, it's going to be a short preview of the Life Course in Health second semester module. In this module, the nutrition students will be joined by the health sciences students, and welcome to them. Quick look at the timetable outline, 12 weeks as you might expect. It's done by me and Laura F. There's a range of topics which we'll talk about in a second, plus tutorials each week which are developed around the assessment. The assessment is going to be a little bit different from what some of you probably have done before. You're going to be, as hint there, you're going to be implementing a campaign, and later on you'll be doing a mapping exercise with me, of which more later. Okay, themes and assessment. The model which we base in this on is a life course, which actually we can extend a bit further because we can take this back to preconception. So Laura will be talking to you about epigenetics, for example, of which more later. This is taken from, many of you may well have spotted, from the MAMA review, the most important public health report of recent times. And we'll note there the accumulation of positive and negative effects on health and well-being, and how they change throughout life and accumulate. So if you start off with problems, they're likely to accumulate through your life course, and if you start off with advantages, they're also likely to accumulate as well, for various reasons. We'll review Marmot briefly in the course. These are module themes. Nutritional science, based around nutrition across the life course, so from preconception to elderly people. Look at social and behavioural influences on people's nutrition and lifestyle in general, which links through to health and well-being, and then we'll talk about the assessment, which will be development of a small-scale public health campaign as part of a team exercise. There is broken out a little bit more. If you zoom the screen, you should be able to see that, but don't worry, we'll be providing all the information around. So, look at the top on nutritional science. We start off with marmot, and we look at things like age and gender and physical activities, and other lifestyle issues such as alcohol and smoking, pregnancy and infant feeding, and then epigenetic issues, which I mentioned briefly. And going down to the bottom one, assessment, development of public health campaign using a particular model, which the food students have done in the first year, but the other students don't need to worry. We'll review this throughout the course early on in the module. They implement this, evaluate this using Universal Design for Learning model, and then a 2,000 word individual report. So it's going to be a 2,000 word report in week 12, and that's what you'll do. You'll develop a campaign to address an important public health issue. Implement a campaign and assess its effectiveness. Now, where we are in terms of the coronavirus is going to drastically affect how we do this. Ideally, we'd like to be doing it out in the world, even if it's only just the university, but I suspect we may be having to do this as a virtual campaign. So we will discuss this during the course of the module. It won't be anything as big as Change for Life, obviously. Maybe some aspects of Change for Life, but it may be looking at things like allotments, and the other picture there is of our former food students food co-op, which was a small-scale campaign which you may want to think of replicating. So what we'll do, and this is how you do it in public health. In public health, you identify an issue, and we will talk about how you do that. You plan what we call an intervention to sort of either develop our understanding of the issue or to cause changes in behaviour. We'll implement it, and then we evaluate it. And as I mentioned, we evaluate it. We both develop this and evaluate it in terms of something called Universal Design for Learning. It will be a group approach, but everything will be individually assessed. There is no group assessment component, and process is supported by workshops throughout the module. So here's the problem we're faced with. Health literacy, which is defined there, and there's some figures from England. 42% of working age adults don't meet this, and 61% if numeracy skills are required. This is a big problem, which is why we think there is a better way of doing this, and we want to inculcate in the students the idea that you can design success in the public health campaigns early. And we do it using something called Universal Design for Learning. Now, as I mentioned, the food students did this, but it's in the first year, but it's like 14 months that they did this now, so I'll do some lectures reviewing it. When they did it, they used a tool, basically a checkbox tool to analyse various public health campaigns. In this case, you'll be using the tool and our knowledge of UDL to develop campaigns, and then we'll look at how we're going to assess them using this. We do feel that this can produce more effective public health interventions. There's a snapshot from the toolkit. Does the campaign encourage active participation? So this is the analysis that was done by the food students in their first year module, first semester, first year module, so quite a while back now. In this case, we'll be looking at the tool for how you can help design the campaign. There will be workshops throughout, so the blue workshops are associated with the development of the public health campaign and its analysis. Then you'll implement the campaign one way or another, and then in weeks 10 and 11 you'll do a computer-based mapping exercise with me. So over to you. Here's something to think about over the holes when you're not eating mince pies. A small-scale public health campaign, maybe something within the university we could do. We've done a lot of this over recent years, and we've changed behaviour quite a lot in the university. So have a think about it. Something manageable, but something which is important to you, something which you can pitch to the class for something we should do. Don't spend a lot of time thinking about it, but keep it in the back of your mind. Have a holiday. Okay, so mapping exercise. We use a mapping exercise to look at using data to understand key public health issues. And the tool we're using is indices of multiple deprivation, which are well known. There is lots of information available about these. We'll talk about how it's done, what the domains are, and how it's calculated. And one of the beauties of modern sort of times is that this data is available in forms. We can use it in maps. We can use it fairly straightforward with statistical tools. So we can do lots of stuff which in the past would have taken a gigantic team ages to do. We can do it much more quickly now. So here's some images. I'm just going to open up a window. I'm probably going to have to move this around because I've got this on two screens. So I'm going to have to move this to the other screen. There we go. So this is my map of the indexes of multiple deprivation around Middlesbrough. Now green is the least deprived area and red is the most deprived area. Now that tells us, now the various areas are, and again we will talk about this in the module, are what we call super output areas. Areas which broadly contain similar numbers of people. What I've also got here is the information from the scores on the door. So when you go to a restaurant or something, there's a notice on the door saying it's a 5-star restaurant, talking about food safety. That's okay in itself, but it also allows us to identify things, for example, where all the restaurants are. I'm going to click on that, and we'll see all the restaurants are popped up there. We can use various statistical tools, looking at the population centre of the super output areas, and then what we're going to do is compare them, is look at the super output areas, their index of multiple deprivation scores, for example, then the distance to takeaways, for example, and then look and see if we get statistical correlations. So we're using fairly straightforward Pearson type correlations, which you haven't done before. We will again review during the module. And that's all, folks. Thanks for listening. I'll see you next semester.